and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. One of her advocacy reconnecting adults to joy and play, the most transformative tools we often forget. And of course, a debut author and the author of the book 100 Ways to Spread Joy, no other than Miss Amy Dickens.
Thanks for having me here. So excited to be here.
Welcome, Miss Amy on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am on a mission to help reconnect adults to their joy and their play as a tool to help reconnect them to who they really are and kind of regulate their nervous system. So, I do things like host parades every week in the street, getting people dancing and creating flash mobs, to, writing my book, and I have my own podcast called Joyfully You. I do a little bit of public speaking here and there, and just really having fun with life and reminding people that this journey to growing and becoming the you that you can be is fun along the way, and also that we can change the world by spreading more joy.
Yes, indeed. The spreading joy is something else. So, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Amy. For the joy that you're spreading all over the world. What was the defining moment or a personal experience that convinced you to the world needed this book, 101 Ways to Spread Joy, right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So this book was inspired by going through a really hard season myself. Life gets lifey for
Mm-hmm.
all of us, even, the joy lady. And
Yes.
sometimes I have moments where I'm feeling incredibly human, and I was just having a season where everything felt so hard. Like where it's like hard to get out of bed and you're just feeling uninspired and just this like victim mindset where like woe is me. And I woke up one morning and I remember looking in the mirror thinking, okay, something's got to change. Like I'm a coach, I know all these tools, I'm doing all the quote unquote right things, that should be helping, and nothing's helping right now. So like I need to try something different, clearly. So I gave myself a challenge. And in this challenge, I said every single day, I'm going to wake up, and first thing in the morning, or as close to first thing in the morning, I'm going to, it started as do just something joyful, something that would spark joy in me. Cause I said, I don't know, I just got to try something here. And a few days into that, I woke up and I got this inspiration to just write little things on pieces of paper that I needed to hear. Those little messages that were the things that me in this really just dark chapter of my life needed to remember about myself or the world or whatever it was. And I wrote them on pieces of paper and drew little pictures, and I went around town. And I hid them in the grocery store and in the library. And I put them like in little behind the windshield wiper on people's cars. And I can remember this moment where I was sitting in the grocery parking lot in my car, and I watched this old lady come to her car, and she picked the little note out of there, and I just watched her read it, and I watched her like posture change and her face light up, and just her whole being kind of shift in that one little moment. And it sparked something inside of me of, oh, whoa, yes, I love bringing joy to myself, but there's something about spreading joy. And within the 30 days, I completely just shifted the space that I was in. I was able to like make massive decisions and changes that got me out of like the struggling situations that I was in, and to see my life in a lens of gratitude. And then probably a year and a half, almost 2 years after that whole chapter happened, I woke up one day and said, wait a second, that helped me. I think that if it helped me, maybe it could help other people. So I was like, wrote it in a book. I just like for like 12 hours a day was just like and like writing it out and like designing the whole thing. And I was like, I gotta put like as many colors in it. And I wanted to make it accessible and easy to read, because I know that a lot of people are, short on time
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. And it's like I wanted
Mm-hmm.
something that's like you can sit
Busy, busy.
on the toilet, or read it before bed, or just like really easy little things that you could read it in simple little chunks and actually read the book rather than have the intention of reading the book.
Definitely. And Miss Amy, how do you distinguish between fleeting happiness and the deeper, more connective joy that your book aims to spread?
Ah, thanks so much. That's a really great question. I'm so glad you asked that because I think our culture, people are like, I just want to be happy. And we're really
Mm-hmm.
focused on, we're so addicted to our screens and these momentary happiness kind of things. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes
Yes.
I see people having the best of intentions. And to me, the difference is happiness comes from these momentary, like, I don't know, I have like a cookie and then I'm like happy and I get like a dopamine rush and it's like it burns off and then I'm not actually experiencing the deep soul joy that I can experience in any moment. And one of the things that I think was one of the best experiential teachers to help me understand what joy really is that I was going through like a horrible breakup, the kind where you're like, oh my God, everything is like shattered and life is really hard. But I was also experiencing moments in that really hard chapter of immense joy. Like, in the grief and the joy were just kind of like holding hands, it felt like within me. And I was able to kind of experience both ends of the spectrum simultaneously. And I was like, wow, one doesn't have to exist without the other. And that this joy we can choose and really help cultivate it. I call it the joy gym. It's like we got to get like the reps in and we can, sit on the couch and not that there's anything wrong with resting, but and you're just like, woe is me. I can't make any different choices. And you move your body or do something different in a different kind of way, it shifts you into a joyful state. And it's not a comfortable choice to make often because we're like, I don't want to do different. My ego wants me to stay the same forever because that's its horrible job. It's all good. We have to make those hard choices that I'm like, okay, fear, ego, it's okay. This is going to not feel so safe, but we're going to choose the joyful path anyways. And, it's like that's your reps and you're like the bicep curls in the joy gym.
So, Miss Amy, what is the most surprising and profound ripple effect you witnessed or heard about from a simple act of joy?
Oh, the most profound one. That's a really good question because I've realized through doing this work, and I am such a like service and contribution based person that I'm like, doing as much as I can to spread the message and just spread joy throughout my own community. And I recognize that there's so much that I will never hear about. Because sometimes I will do things I won't hear anything about it. It's like crickets, and I don't even see any of the ripple. And one time I went out to the park and I took a bunch of chalk and me and my friend were just like writing like messages and drawing art and like little reminders and like making little games that, people could like dance here and then skip, skip, skip. And it's like, you are loved. And, just all these little things that just were chalk on the ground. When it would rain, it would go away. And I wrote, my social media tag on there and my email so that people could like stay in the world if they wanted to. And 4 months later or something like that, I ran into some guy that was like, wait a second, because he saw me like leading people dancing through the streets. He's like, are you the person that wrote those chalk things on the ground in the same park like 4 months ago? I was like, yeah, I didn't even know about that. He's like, oh my God. And he told me this whole story about how it just like totally made his day. And like his little daughter, who was, I don't know, maybe 5 years old and was with him, how it just like inspired them and how they started doing things like that. And I was like, wow, that was something that I did that I completely forgot that I did. But it was such a meaningful moment because it reminded me that although there are many times when I'm doing something and I don't hear or see or even witness any of like the impact, that it is having an impact and that it's like just that I'm not aware of what the impact is and I don't get to experience it firsthand. It doesn't negate the fact that there is invisible ripples happening all over the world. And it really was a great reminder. And yeah. And then I host a joy parade every week where I get people dancing through the streets. And there's been just countless and countless people that have like, I'm like, wow, just like, I show up to this thing and you're asking me to do things like dance through the streets and do things that I'm like, I'm a little uncomfortable, Amy, but through this next hour, I opened like doors in my heart that I didn't even realize were like closed, and I'm like feeling so much more joyful and happy. And then I'm able to go to work, and I'm able to, go home and to my family and all of these things, and recognize that everything's not like as bad as it actually seemed beforehand, and that I can, I'm dancing in the grocery store just on myself without you even there, Amy. And I'm like, oh my God, that's just the best thing in the world for me to hear. Like, now you're your own joy spreader. And that's really my mission, is to help empower people. It's not like, oh, I don't want to be like, oh, it's the Amy show. And, this is like, yeah, you got to be with me. I want to empower and inspire other people to, sometimes you got to like be led a little bit maybe to get inspired. Oh, I can do this on my own. I don't need so and so next to me in order to step into this. But it's a lot of fun, and easier to be courageous sometimes with somebody right next to you.
Yes, definitely. In a world filled with so much bad news,
Yeah.
how can actively focusing on
Yeah.
spreading joy become a form of personal resilience and empowerment, Miss Amy?
Thank you for that question as well. Yeah, because it's so easy to focus on all of the crazy things going on in the world, and our brains are literally wired for negativity bias. Like they're hardwired for that, for our survival, for most of our species. And now it's not really serving us anymore. And then we get like phones, and we're inundated with all of the news, and just like we're getting flooded with information that our being and brain are literally not designed to handle. So I think that's like important for us to remember as often as we can, because I think we feel this internal need, is what I hear reflected from a lot of people, to be aware and informed of all of the different things. I just want to remind people, your nervous system was not designed to be able to know what was happening in this side of the world and this side of the world, and be like, and now there's like horrible things happening here, and this is a nightmare happening here and here. So if you can minimize or like put off to a little section of your day, you're like, I want to be informed, don't make it fill your whole day. Don't let it leak into every aspect of your life. Put really strict boundaries on that, knowing that that's one of the best things that you can do for your mental health. If you need to buy an app blocker or something like that to stop your habit, like, please do that. Because and if you need to like unfollow certain people from social media because you're like, I can't just like constantly get flooded with it, experiment and figure something out with that, because it is not good for our mental health. Like, the science is out. There's no like debating that, being inflooded with like worst case scenarios in the news headlines every day is horrible for your mental health. And I find personally that I used to be like huge in the activism world, and in terms of like just being like, I need to be on the front lines and all the things, and like really it's like active in that. And I think it's important work. And I found that it was burning me out and overwhelming me and putting me into like an actual like mental health and health spiral back in the day. And I was like, this isn't good for my own well-being and health. And I have found that for me personally, my puzzle piece, I feel in my bones, is to connect people to their joy, to remind them that you don't need permission to feel joy, that you don't need to feel guilty for feeling joy. Even if there's people that are going through horrible things, you don't need to make yourself suffer in order to, like, I don't know, be in, I don't know, congruence with them or whatever you're looking for. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I have definitely had that in my past where I'm like, who am I to feel joyful when there's so much suffering? Who aren't you to feel joyful? Your joy can change the world. I truly believe that the more that we zoom in, because if you're zoomed out on all of the things happening, it's overwhelming. What can I do? I'm just one little person. Zoom into your community. What change can you make right here today? Maybe it's just a conversation you have with a stranger, and somebody feels really seen and heard and listened to, and like, wow, I feel really connected in like this one little moment where I don't know, you're both at the coffee shop and you're waiting in line for your coffee or something like that. It doesn't have to be something where you're creating, I don't know, like a whole thing. Like, you don't need to lead a whole parade through the streets. If you want to, please do. If you don't, that's totally okay. Like, that's something that I love to do, and that like lights me up, and is like one of my favorite ways to spread joy. But it is not a requirement. It can just be in how we interact, in kind of this active resistance to rehumanize our world by interacting with each other in real life, in real time, and hugging people, and just having these little micro moments of true connection, not what do you do and where do you live? Because I don't know, that like just keeps you all in your head and you're not like really giving people like a real heart to heart kind of connection moment. It's like, you know, really be there, they're present with people. And if you're like, it's clunky at first, that's okay. Like I have still constantly learning what is the trick, the secret sauce to really connecting with people. And I think honestly a lot of it is less of like what are you saying and how are you saying it, than how are you saying it. The way in which your presence, the way in which you communicate with someone, the smile that you give someone, the energy that you like people are within when they're around you can make a total difference in someone's day. And then you never know, that person might be like a boss of many people at a company, and the way that they show up at work has a ripple effect throughout their whole company. Or you know, whatever it might be a teacher, and then all of their students are like, wow, Mrs. So and so is in a really great mood today, all because she just had a great like conversation with you somewhere, like, you know, right before she got to work or something like that. And then that has just infinite ripples, because we're making ripples every single day. I want to remind myself this and everyone this every day. Whatever mood that we're in has the impact, it has the potential to create a ripple effect. I went to the airport and they were in such a good mood. It was one of the guys, you know, checking everyone's passports or whatever. And he's like cracking jokes with people. He's, you know, like just being real goofy. I could see people, you know, go from like, oh, I'm just like, and like they had that moment of like, whoa, now I'm lit up. I'm sitting up a little straight. And then someone, what his supervisor or someone comes in and she talks to him and kind of just yells at him. She's like ripping him a new one. I don't know. Apparently he made some mistake and she was not the most graceful, I will say, in communicating that. And I saw his whole demeanor shift. And he like clearly like, you know, was having like, I'm not worthy or whatever. And he was angry. And then every single person that had their passport checked by him, he was grumpy. He was like not kind. He was impatient, and just in the way that he was communicating, then that was making these people impatient that were now interacting with him. When 1 minute before he was having the opposite ripple. And it just like was the biggest irritation moment of, oh my God, we're all making ripples every single day. Like if you're like screaming at someone, you're making ripples of anger. If you're really terrified and you're like in this fear moment and you're talking to everyone about it, you might be creating ripples of fear. And we can stop a ripple. You know, we have that moment to be like, whoa, like you're throwing a lot of anger at me. I'm gonna take a deep breath and I'm not gonna pass that on to the next person I talk to, because like we just don't need to be doing that. But we do it all the time unconsciously. And that's like, you know, just a human thing. But we can actively choose, okay, what kind of ripple do I want to make in this moment? Do I want to, you know, make a new habit? Do I want to make a new choice to create a ripple of joy? And, you know, kind of trust and have faith that that can do more good, even though I will not see the vast majority of anything it might ever do. And like my ego probably isn't gonna like that. My ego likes seeing, you know, like results and external validation and how is this working? What are the numbers? You know, but you don't always see that. And it's a beautiful just gift to give every single day. It's like, what impact can I have? Can I help one person every day?
Mm-hmm. And Miss Amy, as a podcast host, as a debut author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Sorry, what was that? Can you repeat that?
What are your short-term and long-term goals as an
My
author as
short
well as a
term and
podcast?
oh,
Yes, go
great
ahead.
question. Short-term and long-term goals. My short-term goals right now are, I've been feeling like definitely a lot more whispers to do lean into more public speaking. Just really like it's been like, hey, you should do that. You know, you get that little inner voice. It's like, hey, you know, you really should be doing this thing. So I've been slowly leaning into that more and more. So I can, I think, impact more people. I really feel pretty called to share in maybe spaces that aren't as used to hearing messages like this, maybe more in like corporate spaces and things like that, where there's much more like beep, boop, 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 little go the sound effects of you know, just going through the motions kind of thing. And long term, I really have a vision of creating a joy spreading movement, of creating a global movement of joy spreaders, of empowering people in all different kinds of ways, you know, writing many more books, making a podcast that is much bigger, you know, way bigger social media impact, all in service to inspiring and uplifting as many people as we can, because there are so many voices out there that are really loud in just spreading fear, spreading doubt, spreading that these messages of negativity and hopelessness that people are hearing and listening to and believing. And I think that we have a lot more choice in our everyday, and something, like peace. I think sometimes we understand like, oh, like I want peace, like I want to feel inner peace, and we want, like, our human wants peace to come when the external circumstances are like peaceful, but that's just control. True peace is, okay, no matter what is happening, like the whole outside world could be absolute freaking chaos, but I can still experience and choose peace from within. And from that space, the amount of change that is possible within each of us to create in the world. Because from that peaceful state, I think each of us is connected to the truth of the purpose that we came here to be and create in the world. And the less that we're connected to that, the more disempowered we are, and the more, other powers that be can, kind of manipulate. So I think that it's our civil duty to try and reconnect to that. So I really hope to create as many different ways to be of service and help reconnect people to joy, and just like get people laughing around the world again, laughing and
Hmm.
dancing and having more fun. The movement of that.
Good luck to you girls, Miss Amy, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be an author, like as well as a podcast host?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you would like to be an author, honestly, I would say just do it. This was the first book I've published, but it was fourth or fifth book that I've like written, and like this was the first one that I finished. I would have all the ideas, and I would like write, maybe 75% of the book. And then I
Hmm.
would get in my head and not believe myself, or think that it wasn't good enough, or I would procrastinate or something. And if you really have an idea that you're passionate about, for me, what has been the most helpful thing to achieving any of my dreams, whether it be a book, a podcast, or creating anything, is to get connected to that deeper why. Why is it that you want to create this thing? Who is it that you want to serve? And like kind of get deeper. Like if you have a why, ask why about that why, and why about that why, and why about that why. Not to get like all like in your head, and like, but like, kind of like from that deep inner knowing space. Because when you're doubting yourself, which when you're creating anything and when you're writing, and it can come up all the time, if you have a why, it pulls you into something beyond the doubt, and you keep going, and you can create the thing, and you don't stop. And it allows, at least in my experience, and other people that I've coached and helped, having that why is the thing that can help you to remain consistent, and reminding yourself that consistency isn't like the same every day. Sometimes being consistent with your work looks like, I'm at 120% today, and tomorrow I might be like showing up at 20%, but you know what? I show up at my computer and I do my best. And my best does not look the same as it did yesterday, but I'm consistent. Being kind to yourself, and
Yes.
reminding yourself, like, who can I help by doing this? Who can I serve? If I can help one person, that like really does help motivate me, because it helps me feel less, I don't know, kind of like focused on me, and like, I don't know, and it's like somewhat like selfish kind of like, oh, I'm scared, or whatever that is.
So, Miss Amy, thank you for the advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Ooh, books that have influenced my journey. I mean, which one would I want to go for? There's been so many. I'm like, what chapter of life do I want? This is kind of a wild card one, but it's like one that I remember being pivotal for some reason. Like maybe 12 years ago, I had listened to, because I'm big on audiobooks. I love audiobooks. They're so
Mm-hmm,
good.
yes.
Amy Poehler and Tina Fey's autobiographies. I think Amy Poehler's is called Yes Please, and Tina Fey's is like Bossy Pants. I remember reading those back in the day, and for some reason, it was something about like, because I had known them as like these big comedy stars,
Mm-hmm.
and I just remember that getting me like on a hook of like reading all different kinds of memoirs and things of, wow, they also were really human. Their journey was also incredibly had the ups and downs, and you kind of like I had like seen the finished product, but I hadn't really like heard about and seen, oh whoa, this is what like kind of happened for like over a decade to like get to that point, of the real human journey behind it. Because especially nowadays, I'm like, kids that are now growing up with social media, they just see like the shiny, like, oh, this is like what it is, get famous in 5 seconds, and post one thing and make $1 million, make your 6 figures in 6 months, that kind of thing. And I
Yes.
think it's so important for us to remember and hear the vulnerable stories of how the heck do people reach their dreams. Because person after person, you just hear, like Disney got rejected by like 300 banks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking
Mm-hmm.
Disney, so the more that we can like remember, like, okay, like if it's not working, it's not a sign that it won't work. It's just a sign to keep going if you have that dream within you. And I love stories that help remind me of that.
Yes, keep going, people. Keep going. Try and try until you succeed. And Miss Amy, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season. I'm a book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in third season. I'm a food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101, Love Letters, Movie 101, and Music 101 are fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101, and second season, My Baby Podcast, Law 101, Mental Health and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Amy, if every person who read your book implemented just one idea, what is the single biggest change they will attain?
Mm, the single biggest I mean, I'm sure it's different from person to person, but if
Mm-hmm.
you wake up every day and you have this intention of, can I just spread joy to one person every day, and have this shift of, just like a selfless moment, I would call it, of how can I be of service, how can I be, of service to one person today and spread joy to one person today. I think you will be very surprised at how much that uplifts you, even if it's just in that moment. Even if it's, I've seen in the darkest of seasons, we're really, I think, hardwired for helping each other out. And we're in this hyper individualistic world that's kind of separated us from the gift of that, and we're living communally. I think we just are naturally spreading joy and helping one another. But when we're so isolated and not behind screens a lot with each other, it can be so easy to forget that it's something that fills our cup more than we might imagine. And it might even just be waking up every day and sending one appreciation text to someone, and that takes 60 seconds. You can do it with your thumbs. You can like send a voice note. It doesn't even have to be a phone call, but you might be surprised how it reminds you, wow, like that feels good. And starting your day that way, it really can have a domino effect of setting this foundation for the rest of your day.
Yes, definitely, Miss Amy Dickens. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world through your book. Spreading joy is something else, something that we need to support. So, Miss Amy, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your podcast, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My book is available on Amazon, 101 Ways to Spread Joy by Amy Dickens, or you can find all of my stuff at my website, livejoyfullyu.com. And yeah, social media at the Amy Dickens on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Live You on and wherever you listen to podcasts. And yeah, if you're looking for any kind of places to feel doses of spark my joy, like how do you remind myself like these to be uplifted and make choices in different ways and just laugh or be good to see people and
Yes, definitely. So, people, let's support Miss Amy Dickens because if we support her for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come, more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself, and for sure, more and more empowering joy will spread to the world. So, Miss Amy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Have an amazing rest of your night.
Yes, more to come, people. See you soon.